Disney is suing Ron DeSantis for what they claim to be government retaliation against the company and violating its protected speech.
I think Ron DeSantis is in the right. I think that there's been an epidemic of purporting sexualized information in front of children. And I think he's going super hard at Disney right now. One of the things that comes to my mind is what we saw with Budweiser and people trying to take a stance on something in order for marketing dollars. I think that purporting sexual ideology in front of children is evil. And I think that Disney needs to stay in their lane. And I actually like the fact that Ron DeSantis is challenging them. And I know for a fact he's making an example out of them. And I too believe, as a retired school teacher, I think an example does need to be made.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I hate that I'm going to take this fucking side of it. But I mean, as much as
go for you're with the pedos?
As much as
the pedos, Jay?
As much as I don't want to be,
that suit backs the pedos.
I don't back them in any way.
They're all pedos, to be fair.
Everyone in our government is, but as much as I would
get down some water.
As much as I would hate to take the side of it,
you want the smoke?
Take the stance, Jay.
I'm taking the stance. It's all for politics. He's blatantly going after a company for politics. As much as I agree with his politics and I'm against their politics, you can't just use politics to go after a company.
Power play.
You can't do it. What precedent does this set? Like let's say the governor of Nevada doesn't like the politics that Steve Wynn has, or that Adelson has, RIP, or that MGM has. You can't have it so that every 4 years someone gets elected, and now they're just making an example out of companies that they don't like, and it's just it sets a wrong precedent throughout America. I don't want the politics that any person or company has to have anything to do with what the government does. I don't want the government to go after someone or take away someone's money just because they don't like what they believe in. Like, your freedom of speech is you can say whatever you want, no matter how wrong it is, but they can't take away your money for it.
Interesting. So are you in the same position as like when a politician takes a stance on like pro-life or pro-choice? Is that what you're saying? Like, that's the stance DeSantis is taking in this argument. It aligns with the political party perspective that he's in, and he's doing it for votes.
Yeah, he's doing it for votes. Like, he's just doing it for votes. I'm libertarian AF, right? Yeah. Like, stay out of my government, life. Stay out of my business, stay out of my life. And if I run my household or if I run a business, even if I don't agree with with what that business says, I respect their right to say it. And even if I hate what they say, and I do hate what they say, they're just shoving things down people's throats. But I mean, you can't use the government.
I mean, to your point of the Budweiser situation, and to your point, let the consumer decide if it's right or wrong. I mean, Disney has come out with some of those things, and they're I wouldn't say propaganda, just like their movies or their TV shows or just like their cinema and stuff and their media that makes them money. And some consumers have been like, wow, I'm going to watch that movie several times. Or they're like, no, I'm not taking my kids to that movie. And the consumer decides if that stays around for a long time or not. You think Budweiser's ever going to do a campaign like that again? No. Never. You think like Disney's been trying to push this. Some people have been willing to accept it. Other people have been dropping off. I mean, they're a very smart company. They're an international, multinational company. They'll decide at the end of the day if it works. I think what's also interesting is this isn't the first time that Disney and Ron DeSantis have clashed. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys know this, that Disney and where they are at in Orlando, they basically have their own government from when that was the deal they made with Florida and kind of the city of Orlando, jurisdiction of Orlando. And I think it's another way for Ron DeSantis to stand up for the Florida government to try and say like, hey, I want tax dollars like Disney. You got to bend on something, man. And I think it's just, again, another, to your point, a Ron DeSantis position to align with the party, align with his constituents, to get votes, to say, Disney, you're not paying tax dollars. You're putting out what he calls propaganda, and I'm not having it. And they're just going to go like this. And that's why Disney filed lawsuit.
The better political move would allow them to stay there so that they could keep on being the punching bag. Don't write a law about it.
Yeah.
Don't write a law about it. Don't force it. Let them embarrass themselves.
Yeah. And again, goes back to the point, the consumer decides if it's valid or not. If people, again, the consumers will either go or not go there.
Well, and you brought up a valid point. He has been going hard at Disney.
Yeah.
And I think it is because he's resentful of the deal that they were able to make with the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Because the state of Florida got ripped.
Kind of. I mean, they turned a swamp into a massive park.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then the amount of jobs and the amount of
Yeah,
traffic. And
exactly.
and I love what Florida does where they tax the tourists and not the people that live there. Love it.
Yeah.
So if you were Ron DeSantis, you agree or no, you don't agree with what he did?
If I'm Ron DeSantis, I'm getting votes. It's
So
about my votes.
You want the smoke.
Yeah, well, you're getting the smoke, but I'm getting the votes. He knows his party affiliation. Again, I think it goes
And
back
his
to
demographic.
Yeah, right. It's again for the Republican side and the GOP side. You're pro-life. I have very seldom seen a successful Republican in today's day and age make it with a pro-choice argument, and I think it's.
But they all failed.
Yeah, and
They got this was supposed to be a midterm shellacking.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, this was supposed to be
you're
the
talking
red
about the red
wave.
wave.
The red wave never happened.
No.
It was because of pro-life, and it was because of it
Dude,
was
you're
100%
right.
because of pro-life and the Supreme
No,
Court.
and I think you're eventually, again, what you were talking about earlier, where we're on such polar opposites, you're going to start to see some bend. I think, the doubling down on these types of stances and not seeing flexibility is hard. They're just really hard stances.
I'm 33. I'm the new right, and the new right is don't tax me.
Yes.
Don't give me so many laws. Don't give me so many laws that I don't know how to follow them. But also, people in my age group love abortions.
Yeah.
We just want freedom. We want abortions. We want legal marijuana.
Kill the
We want
babies.
legal everything.
We want
We want legal. We're more of a
we
libertarian
want to
right.
kill the babies and get high.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
You're
so
the Cali right.
Yeah, I'm the Cali right. We're the Cali right.
That's hilarious.
so a couple of things going on here is every politician usually makes one big mistake. Okay. And a lot of times it's right when they're running for president, right? There's always that one thing that they mess up on. They take the wrong stance and it hurts them. I think this is horrible for DeSantis. I think this is his one big F up that he's going to create.
Two.
What's
The other one, he just passed a 6-week abortion ban,
Okay.
and too crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and then he also
But-
went out some gay marriage rights,
But-
which was not.
But this
Smart.
one,
That's not a good one.
That was not
this
smart.
one, the problem is you are now, so Disney pays tens of millions to take care. Okay. I actually think you're wrong about how DeSantis is allowing him to do it. No, dude, this has been in place since 1960.
Mhm.
Okay. They pay for all their own medical, their trash pickup, all. Guess what? DeSantis wants to take over all that. Guess who pays for that? Florida.
Mm.
The residents all around Disney, right? They now are going to have to take
That's a
up
lot
that
of
bill.
garbage.
But it's just your EMT service, everything. Let
Run
them
by
keep
Disney. Yep.
let them keep doing it. Don't put it on the taxpayer.
It goes to the question of stepping over a dollar to save a nickel.
Yeah, and he is doing it because it's political. Here's the thing with Disney that I think Ron DeSantis needs to kind of take a step back, open his eyes, and go, "Hey, listen, I'm backing away from this because Disney, the guy who was all woke was Bob Chapek, who ran Disney. Remember, it was Iger. He left. He put Chapek in. This guy went all woke. He's the one that created all the wokeness that started doing all this ever since Iger came back in, because they literally fired him overnight. Iger's like, dude, I got to clean this up. And came in and cleaned everything up. Tell me one thing in the last couple months that Disney's done that's woke. Nothing.
The Little Mermaid.
No.
That's
But
Taking
that,
jobs away from Andrew Dunn's people. It's
Ginger Mermaid.
a redhead. This is outrageous.
or Peter Pan.
Bring back the
there's
Ginger
not
Mermaid.
many, not many
You're the
redheaded
most-
roles.
I am either colorblind or this is
You're
audacious.
you're the most underrepresented minority ever.
It's really sad.
Marlon.
Yeah, you've been marginalized, bro.
I am. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those shoes
Where are my reparations?
But yeah, he can't even buy proper shoes because he's been marginalized so hard.